Tips to winning your Social Security disability benefits for a REM sleep behavior disorder. There are two distinct states of normal sleep. There's non-rapid eye movement called NREM, and then there's rapid eye movement known as REM sleep. In REM sleep, you are generally dreaming, and that makes up 20 to 25% of your sleep. Now, during REM sleep, there are several things that occur. You have the rapid eye movement, you have even breathing, and amazingly, there is a form of paralysis while you're in this dream state. And what happens when you are having a REM sleep disorder is obviously something completely different. If you have this REM sleep disorder, the paralysis that normally occurs during the REM sleep is either incomplete or it's absent altogether. And that results in a person acting out in their dreams. The dreams are vivid, they're intense, and they're violent. And as a result, you might talk, yell, punch, kick, jump from your bed, flail your arms, or grab things. You may be awakened or wake spontaneously during the attack, and you will vividly remember that dream that corresponds to your physical activity. Now, what are the results of this interrupted sleep, and how can that cause disability? We know that interrupted sleep can cause excessive fatigue, daytime drowsiness, and that can result in a lack of focus or clarity. But you also might experience some other disabling symptoms, and that can include things like headaches, forgetfulness, problems with, as I've said, excessive drowsiness, and it also can cause some psychological issues, depression, and even anxiety. Now, the question is going to be whether these symptoms will qualify you for your Social Security disability benefits. After all, you paid into the Social Security disability system with the tax withholdings from your paycheck. The reality is that it can be hard to win an RBD Social Security disability claim because of the subjective nature of these symptoms, the difficulty in diagnosing RBD, and then the difficulty in objectively quantifying your restrictions and limitations. But I think that there are some ways that we can win these Social Security types of claims based on the experience I've had as a Social Security disability attorney. Now, one of the things you need to understand is we have to prove that we meet the elements of the 5-step sequential evaluation. And we have to establish at step 3 that potentially you meet listing, or at steps 4 and 5 that you have restrictions and limitations that prevent you from going back to your past relevant work or any other work in the national economy. In the Social Security's view, you have to have objective evidence of the RBD diagnosis to establish that it is a medically determinable impairment, or you don't even get to that 5-step sequential evaluation. Social Security hates these kinds of claims because it's hard to prove the diagnosis based on objective medical testing. Now, the diagnosis is generally made based on a complete history, a physical examination, and testing. And as a result, one of the things that Social Security is going to be looking at when they review your medical records is whether you've undergone testing such as a polysonogram, an EEG or EON test, an EMG, whether you have had an EKG, and whether you've had arterial blood gas studies. Of course, the Social Security Administration is going to want to look at the results of these studies to determine whether or not they are consistent with the diagnosis. But they also are going to look for objective basis for your restrictions and limitations caused by the RBD and any other underlying sleep disorder. So the Social Security Administration is going to be looking at the test results to try to determine the severity of your medical condition and to try to correlate that based on its impact on your ability to do your past work or any other work in the national economy. Now, there are some other testing that you can undergo to help document your fatigue, such as a CPET test or a functional capacity evaluation that might physically demonstrate the problems that you're having as a result of your fatigue. But I always want your doctor to complete what's known as a residual functional capacity form. Now, the Social Security Administration is going to tell you about these forms, but they are forms that have been developed by Social Security lawyers such as myself. And they will help your doctor document the objective basis of the diagnosis, the objective basis of the restrictions and limitations, and to quantify them in terms of your ability to function physically, but also cognitively. Now, that can be important to establish, as I said, the objective basis of your restrictions. But another technique that I think is important is to look at other medical conditions you might have as a result of your sleep disorder and claim those as another basis for your claim. So what do I mean by that? Your underlying RBD may not be disabling in and of itself, but the underlying medical conditions that it causes can be disabling. So what are they? You might have a heart condition that has resulted in a heart attack. You might have heart disease, heart failure, or an irregular heartbeat. You may have unfortunately suffered a stroke. You may have diabetes. You may also have the headache disorder. Now, we need to realize that RBD can happen along with degenerative neurological conditions like Parkinson's, multiple system atrophy, the Shy-Drager syndrome, and diffuse Lewy body dementia. So we might have any one of or a combination of these other medical conditions caused by your sleep disorder or seen in conjunction with a sleep disorder that we want to claim as the basis of your disability. Now, as I've said, we want the Social Security Administration to look at each of these diagnoses and the objective basis of these diagnoses and the objective basis for the restrictions and limitations in considering your file. So we might have to get supplemental residual functional capacity forms for headaches, for heart conditions, for strokes, that sort of thing. But again, this documentation will really enhance and improve your ability to get your Social Security disability benefits because we've proved the objective basis of the diagnosis, the objective basis of the restrictions and limitations, and that individually these conditions are disabling or the combination is disabling. So that's another way that we go about this. So for example, your sleep disorder can cause you to have extreme fatigue. You might have headaches, you may have cognitive issues, but you may also have heart condition that limits your ability to lift, stand, or sit. And so we want to have the Social Security Administration look at each condition individually and then in combination to evaluate the interaction of all these disabling conditions, and that just might qualify you for your Social Security disability benefits at step 3, meeting or equaling a listing, or alternatively document why you can't perform your past work or any other work in the national economy. So that's another technique that I think is important in getting the Social Security disability benefits you deserve. I want to talk about filing the claim for Social Security benefits for RBD because, as you can see, these aren't easy claims to win without representation. Before you stop work and file a claim for your Social Security disability benefits, I think you owe it to yourself to learn more about getting your benefits, what's in your medical records, and what we need to do to either supplement or improve your medical records, but also to get the applicable residual functional capacity forms completed that will document your restrictions. Now, if there's an issue in terms of testing or treatment, I am going to be suggesting that it might be appropriate that you get additional testing to substantiate the objective basis of the diagnosis or the restrictions and limitations. Doing this on your own can result in a claim denial, and as a result, you're going to have to file a request for reconsideration within 60 days of the date of the denial. If you don't file that request for reconsideration, you have to start all over again, and you can lose valuable benefits. Filing a request for reconsideration of your benefits, again, is something I think that you should be doing with the services of an experienced disability attorney. The fact that you tried it and failed should be a lesson to you that you do need assistance. 2/3 of the time, these applications are denied by people or as a result of people who are representing themselves. And the same is true with the request for reconsideration. 2/3 of the time, these are denied. Now, I have a better track record. I can't guarantee to you that I will win your benefits on the initial application of the request for reconsideration, but I do things differently than most Social Security disability attorneys. You can see I'm looking at your medical records to see what needs to be done to develop all of the medical conditions which would result in you being disabled, and getting the applicable residual functional capacity forms. If your claim has been denied at the request for reconsideration stage, you'll have 60 days in which to file a request for hearing. You need to know that 2/3 of the time judges will award these benefits, particularly in cases where you are represented. If you have any questions about your rights to Social Security disability benefits for RBD or any type of sleep disorder, please give me a call at 727-894-3188 for a complimentary consultation. I look forward to helping you get the disability benefits you deserve.